There could be people that surf everywhere and they never buy. You don't wanna be communicating with them. You wanna find the people that were on your website that are likely to purchase from you.
Okay, welcome back to the Marketing Playbook presented by Bluecore and Web Future Studio. Here you'll take away 3 game-winning marketing plays every episode to take back to your team. I'm your host, Mark Friedman, and my career has been focused on direct-to-consumer marketing, direct mail, physical retail, and digital commerce. This is episode number 116, and my guest is Maria Youth. Maria is the Chief Revenue Officer at Path2Response, which is helping brands transform their marketing performance with data-driven precision. They specialize in crafting, revitalizing, and expanding a brand's campaign audiences, leveraging unique insights from real-world consumer spending behavior. Maria has worked on the brand side and the provider side, and now she takes all that she learned in those roles to help drive business performance for her clients. Maria offered up some great insights around trying to move outside of your comfort zone, so enjoy the show. Before we get started, a quick thank you as always to Max Branstetter of the Wild Business Growth Podcast for producing this episode. You can reach him at maxpodcasting.com to help bring your podcast to life. Let's open the playbook. Ready, break. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Marketing Playbook Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Maria Youth. Maria is the Chief Revenue Officer at Path2Response. She's a seasoned professional with over 25 years of invaluable experience in multi-channel retail with a rich background in sales, marketing, merchandising, and advertising. Throughout her career, Maria has excelled in driving increased revenue for various clients, including catalogers, retailers, nonprofit organizations, direct-to-consumer businesses, and financial and insurance companies. Her insights and innovative strategies have led to proven success, making her a trusted advisor in the business world. Maria's strategic vision and hands-on approach continue to inspire those around her, making her an invaluable asset to Path2Response and the entire business community. Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for making the time. Appreciate it. We're going to talk about Path2Response in a bit. But, as we start the show here, we always like to get some perspective on the guest's first story. What perhaps in their upbringing might have suggested that your career would have taken shape the way it has.
Well, it was interesting as a kid growing up in New Jersey, so I'm inherently a Jersey girl. I was always very curious about people and just, how to interact with people, stereotypes, what makes people who they are. And I'm naturally curious about that. When I went to college, I was thinking I didn't want to go too far away from home. I ended up going to Lehigh University. And I was a sorority, I joined a sorority there. And I really enjoyed the sense of community, people, and just how people are different. It's almost like a psychological game. Why do people choose to be friends or why do people interact with one another? Sort of what makes them tick. So I sort of loved people. And I think, graduating from Lehigh with the degree in marketing really enabled me to sort of tap into a little bit of that creativity and that curiosity.
So people that know me know that I went to Lafayette College, which
Ah,
is
oh,
a heavy rival of Lehigh, and many will ask why I've continued to have Lehigh guests on my show. You're not the first, and I'm sure there'll be many more to come. But yeah, that's always a playful banter between Lehigh and Lafayette alums.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think last Lehigh Lafayette, Lehigh did win. Very fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't track that all that much. All I remember is, I did the proverbial, I grew up in New York. I did the proverbial tour out to Lehigh Valley. I went to see, Lehigh and realizing, geez, there are a lot of hills there. How do you possibly get from one class to another in time? And I settled on the smaller, bucolic Lafayette. So
Yeah, that is funny that about those hills. That is, yes, there were some major hills there.
yeah. So, interesting about, your interest in people and thinking about, how they make their decisions. So let's talk about your decisions from a career perspective. So you come out of Lehigh and what do you do right out of the gate?
Yeah, so I started working in New York, right? That was the dream. Graduating in that Northeast area, get your first job in New York City. And it was in advertising, specifically media buying and planning, really gave me a terrific understanding of brand awareness, right? That's kind of where it all started for me. And how do brands speak to consumers and what are the tactics that they utilize? Media buying and planning, it was crazy with the onset of, well, there was print, newspaper, radio, TV, outdoor billboards, right? Billboards. Nobody talks about billboards anymore. It's kind of funny. It's come a long way. But I think the whole thing there, it was just about brand awareness without necessarily measurements. It was all about recency, frequency, and just reach, right? The frequency was important. You never want to place an ad in a magazine for less than 3 times because 3 times was the magic number. How they came up with that number, I'm not sure. But it was fascinating. It was a fascinating, stint to understand the interaction of media, the costs associated with the different channels. Fun fact, in 1990, I remember distinctly buying, Super Bowl 30-second ads right on TV, and if I remember correctly, I think it was about $700,000 for a 30-second spot on television, and I think the latest that I saw this past 2025 Super Bowl, 7 to 8 million.
Yeah.
Yes. Unbelievable.
And it's interesting, not that this is a major focus of our conversation, but it is interesting how some small companies bet, almost their entire company on a Super Bowl ad. You
100%.
you can see it when it's, the big, beer commercial, beer companies and things like that, and many other large brands. But some of the smaller ones really bet the farm on a Super Bowl ad. So, like many, you got your start in advertising and on an agency side. Then you went at some point to a business called Lennox. Was this your first brand side role?
Yes, it was. It was actually. Yep. I was, essentially learning a lot about the brands coming out of the media side, and I had a variety of clients. The goal for me was, the world was changing. This concept of direct marketing or direct response advertising was coming into play. And this goal of reach and brand awareness, I was like, how do you know if it works? So when I moved over to Lennox, they were very well versed in not only brand marketing but what we were calling this direct marketing and measurable results. So that was really exciting for me, given the climate of the advertising industry and where the market was sort of going towards trying to monetize that advertising spend.
For people that might not know Lennox, the product line was what?
Oh, yeah, it's the China, Lennox China. Back in the day, when folks were getting married, they would register for full, complete sets of china, soup bowls included. So Lennox was a major tabletop manufacturer, and they actually had another collectible division that really competed with the sculptures, figurines of like Bradford or more familiar with that. But I worked on the collectible side of the business, which actually was 100% direct marketing and direct response, truly measuring the impact of the advertisements.
So what was you were thinking about? You were on the agency side. Now you made the change to brand. I do a lot of interviewing for clients, and there's folks that are on the brand side and thinking about going agency, and vice versa. How did you decide that it was time to make the change?
Yeah, I felt like I wanted to be a bigger part of the overall strategy. And moving to Lennox, knowing that there was a brand, there's all these different departments there. There's customer service, there's inventory planning, there's sourcing. How do they all really work hand in hand? So that was really my goal was to get a more holistic view of how companies operate as opposed to just that one marketing arm.
During your stay there, I imagine that digital started to become more prominent. And take us back, because look, no matter when we're talking about marketing, there are changes afoot. Right now everybody's talking about AI and how AI is going to change. I had a guest last week who thinks that the website that exists today won't be around. In a few years, we'll be buying and shopping through Chat GPT and Perplexity and things like that. We're always contemplating, big changes. You were involved in big changes, paper moving to digital. What was that like?
It was crazy. right? Because as I mentioned, it was pure direct response advertising, which is all was all print back then. And then all of a sudden, the internet came into play, and everyone's like, "Wow, the cost to advertise in the internet, or the cost to send an outbound email to someone was pennies, pennies versus dollars, and the expenditures." And so, like everyone else back then, many brands were like, "Oh my gosh, we're just going to move our things online." So there was a big shift. I was on the direct mail side of the business. We hired a quote unquote internet team, and there was sort of fighting for dollar share, share of advertising spend, and then not only that, it was all about who got credit for the sale, right? So it was this siloed environment where it was challenging. It was challenging.
How does someone, maybe, think back to your experiences, how does someone navigate that kind of a challenge where, you're structured in silos, maybe you're more progressive than others, you realize that there's change coming. How do you navigate that?
Well, I think it's really important to have one leader that sort of manages the different departments, right? So there is some level of holistic viewpoints and commonalities of goals, right? And so and analytics, right? Analytics really becomes important in all of that. Cost to acquire a customer is one simple analytic, but really there's also lifetime value. Like it might cost less upfront, but then the lifetime value might suffer. So it's really, understanding the analytics behind all of those different marketing channels, if you will.
And, while you were, at Linux and, you were thinking about these changes, how did the need for measurement tools change?
Well, initially, Linux, I will say they were very, very forward in their analytical ability. We maintained our entire customer file in-house. We had a dedicated team that was specifically focused on lifetime value. They would primarily spend money in media, millions of dollars a year in freestanding inserts, magazines, the good old the women's publications back in the day. And they spent a lot of money on that. And so they were very attuned to measurement. And it was funny because the point of view of the organization was direct mail, offline marketing, but we had to keep up with the times. And so we launched our website, and then everyone was questioning, like, how do we know if it's working? You're getting all these visitors and then like the conversion rate, but what does that mean? And what are the metrics behind that? The average order value, how much are they buying? How often are they buying? How did they get there? How did they get there? That was always the question. Because you think about what we see today as consumers, you can see a commercial on TV, you can hear something about it on the radio, you could maybe get a direct mail piece, but what made you buy? So we were very focused on overall lifetime value and analyzing the costs as a whole.
So you didn't even know you were talking about attribution back then, but you were.
No, it's funny. It's funny because you think about today, it's attributions, it's all the rage. How do people solve that problem? Because companies, I think, have become maybe somewhat less siloed, but there is an overall understanding that, there still is a marketing spend and there still has to be accountability for that.
After your time at Lennox, you went back to the what I like to call the dark side.
Yes.
You went to work for a company, a large company called Epsilon. Why the transition back that way?
So, at Lennox, I had this opportunity to really lead the whole catalog and an internet division, right? And from start to finish, from my own business perspective, from concept to creative to the inventory, merchandising those things, photography, creative management, call center, and it just became a lot, right? And I was there for close to, I think it was 14 years at this point, right? So really evolving and managing this huge business. So we'd have an ornament on the cover of the catalog, and all of a sudden the boat that was shipping it from China was coming, and there was an accident, and the ornament sank, and it was like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh my goodness, and it was just large problems. And so when I left Lennox, I was like, I just need to simplify things. I really like people. I had the luxury of moving around within the organization at Lennox, so I had a very good understanding in the overall direct marketing industry, and selling became like interesting to me. I think I would ever be a sales rep. I didn't business development. I didn't know what that was, and when I was talking to the folks at Lennox, they were saying, do you want to do business development? I'm like, what is that? What does that even mean? And I was like, "I'll try it. Sure, let's see." And, after 3 months, I had a wonderful relationship with them. I said, "If I'm terrible at this, please let me know, and conversely, if I'm good at it, this could be great." And it ended up being really, really wonderful.
So that was what brought you to Epsilon?
Yes. Yeah, it was really the chance to be sort of an individual contributor as opposed to managing this huge business organization.
Did you find that difficult? I think, we talk a lot about people taking on roles that take them out of their comfort zone. Was that outside your comfort zone?
It was initially, like, I was like, "What do I do? What do I say?" But, literally, it became very conversational, and I really relied on my background. I was talking to the old me. I'm talking to vice presidents of marketing. What would I say, and what would be my point of view be? So, really, it was a natural next step for me to sort of really not sell. I never viewed it as selling. It was really more conversational, consultative, like, "What are you doing today? What do you find works?" And just to that inherent sense of curiosity. You mentioned, digital versus offline. What are folks doing and how are they measuring? The solution that Epsilon offered was something that I thought was, very easy to talk about and get across the finish line, and it was valuable. I myself was a user of these solutions, so I totally understood it.
One of the things that's, always been interesting, to me as both a brand person and then, now for quite a few years consulting, is that so many of the problems that brands have are so consistent with what other brands have. When
True.
you were, pitching for business at Epsilon, did you find that there was this, kind of narrow range of the pain points that brands had, and you had solutions to help, quite a lot of them?
Yeah, 100%. And I sort of helping them navigate sort of the intra-department issues, having done so myself, was really like conversationally, and it was really, a really good conversation, and it was easy. It became very natural, and I loved it. Right? Everyone loves talking about what they know. Being consulting, being consultative, talking about shared experiences. It just creates relationships, and I enjoy people, and I enjoy relationships.
I always found that when I had to teach somebody or I had to talk about what I thought I knew, it really helped you understand that you knew more than you thought you did.
It's surprising.
Yeah, it really is. I've always, found that, people start asking you questions and you have a reasonable answer for the question. You hadn't really thought about it that way, but it does help you get grounded about what you're capable of doing. So, 5-year run at Epsilon and then another 4 at a business that I wasn't familiar with, KBM. What was that?
That was very similar. Back in the day, it was iBehavior. KBM bought
Ah,
them,
okay.
and then
Yep.
now they're Wonderman. They've been through several changes. So similar role, really more on that consultative business development side. Again, enjoying meeting new brands. It was so interesting to see what would resonate with these potential clients or prospects. What words would I have to say, or what would be the hook that they'd say, "Oh my gosh, yes, let's meet." So it was always just, I enjoy learning new things, and it's fun. It's really fun. And I really believed in the solution. So it was, I'm passionate about it. So, you sell with passion, and you can test things. And, back to direct marketing 101, the beautiful thing is you can test everything. And if it doesn't work, that's great. You can check it off your list and walk away. So to me, it was, again, more of a fun, lighthearted, test it, see if it works. And plus, I got to meet a whole bunch of really great brands and people, and have some really good discussions.
For those people that listen that are in a selling, kind of a role, one of the things that always happens is everything takes time to implement, whether it's a new solution, whether it's another app in your tech stack, everything takes time. How do you as a salesperson get the person you're trying to sell to say, you know what? I have a list of 100 things, but I'm going to work with you and move you up the list. What's that secret sauce?
Yeah, I think it's really, understanding their business, right? And being more of a collaborator with them, helping them through their pain points, and really make it easy for folks to move forward, right? Outline a clear cut plan. Say, this is what we need. This is about the time frame it might take. How can I help you? Do you need me to be in your meetings with folks? Let me help you move this along, right? Help your brand champion, be their support person.
Good. Okay. Love it. That comes up a lot. People ask me, geez, how are we going to get them to, take our call? They want to do it, but they don't have time to do it. How do we get that message through? So that's a good piece of advice.
Leading retail brands are seeing 3 year customer retention rates that average 59%, while the industry average is only 22%. What makes the difference? It's a philosophy and framework called customer movement. Customer movement centers your strategy on customers rather than channels. It's the practice of understanding customer value and moving shoppers through the life cycle more often and more efficiently. From unknown visitors to known shoppers, from non buyers to new buyers, from one time buyers to repeat, and re engaging those who threaten to slip through the cracks. Bluecore is the retail marketing technology behind customer movement, working with more than 400 leading retailers and D2C brands such as Gap, Neiman Marcus, Carhartt, and Tapestry. Learn more about customer movement and how to create a more active, profitable customer base at bluecore.com.
Let's talk about Path2Response. So the co-founder of Path2Response is a friend of mine. His name is Brian Rainey. Brian has been a guest on this show a number of years ago. And quick fact, Brian and I have known each other for 30 plus years. He was my first account sales guy when he was at a company called Abacus and I was with a catalog company called Tweeds. He was fresh out of Sharper Image and he moved from a brand side into selling. And that's where we first met, and we've maintained a friendship all these years. So you'll have to say hello to Brian for me.
I will. I will.
Tell us what Path2Response is.
Great. So Path of Response is very similar to the other two roles that I had with Epsilon and KBM Group. But the key differentiator, which was amazing to me, is the other two businesses that I worked for were all about, somebody just bought a handbag. Therefore, they enjoy buying accessories, right? So as organizations, it's a co-op database. Let me back up. Path Response is a cooperative database comprised of actual buying behavior. So we have visibility into where people are shopping, what they're buying, how often and how much they're spending. And it's across catalogers, retailers, nonprofits, publishers, really any company that's transacting directly with consumers. KBM and Epsilon offer that as well. But the differentiator, which is why I completely came to Path Response, is that we at Path Response have the ability to capture people when they're actually in market, meaning they are out there surfing the internet to, look at different brands, do some research, and we're the only one that can capture somebody's when they're on a client's website, identify them, rank and score them based on their actual buying behavior. And it's amazing because wouldn't it be nice for a brand to know that here's somebody that was on their site and they didn't buy? But Patch Response can identify them, not only identify them, we can see if they're actively spending. We can see what they're doing in the marketplace. So if you have a website and you have 100,000 people that come, we'll identify, say, 50% of that. And some of those people are going to be existing customers, and maybe you don't care about that. But then the next best group of people, there could be people that surf everywhere and they never buy. You don't wanna be communicating with them. You wanna find the people that were on your website that are likely to purchase from you. So when Brian and I talked about this, I was like, "This is crazy." This is crazy good stuff. And finally, you think about all that online, offline that we talked about, through the years that I worked at Lennox and the other companies, and it's like you're actually taking advantage. You are bringing and monetizing your online site visitation data and utilizing it in offline marketing efforts. It's fantastic.
And so if I'm a retailer and I've got the website and you're deployed on there, is the mechanism, is the marketing tool that I'm now using paper based upon who you tell me to contact?
Yes, yes, it literally is. And the idea behind it is that the names are gonna be they're modeled, so the performance is gonna be that much greater. So therefore, while, paper's expensive, we all know the postage issues and cost of paper, to actually send out a direct mail piece is expensive. But the response that you're gonna get based on the data that we have is gonna be so strong that it's gonna make sense for that brand.
And not to geek out too much, but I'm going to imagine there's capability to run incrementality testing along with this.
Yes, 100% actually, and we pride ourselves on that. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is great," but how do we know that's gonna move the needle, this direct mail piece, if you will? One of our product lines, we actually can deliver, names on a daily basis, and in those cases, there's a holdout panel, right? There's gonna be an nth of the mailable universe that we're gonna hold out, and that we can then go back and measure results. Who responded? Did they get the direct mail piece? Was it truly incremental?
And for brands that might have their own website, they may have their own physical retail stores as well. How are you leveraging both online transactional data, retail store transactional data to make your decisions around direct mail?
Yeah, so we actually, we like to have the brands let us know of their customer file, who came from retail and who came from online and who came from direct, right? So everyone recognizes in today's world, it's a multi-channel environment, omni-channel, if you will, right? That might be the buzzword these days, omni-channel. So the idea is, understanding the data, understanding what is the brand's goal. Are they trying to send more consumers to their website? Are they trying to drive more store traffic? What behavior are they trying to emulate? And then it boils down to whatever that behavior is, who already exhibited that behavior. So we can actually refine that group and build a model to thus emulate the behavior that the brand's trying to accomplish.
What do you find that, I don't know if there is a most of your client, but are people, are brands sending out postcards, multi-panel mailers, catalogs? What are they sending?
So I've been here 8 years, and I think 8 years ago, I would say there was a heavy presence in tried and true traditional catalogs, right? And then the word direct to consumer became very popular. These people that were initially just online only, they started launching their direct mail campaigns, and they were then categorizing themselves as direct to consumer, and they were typically mailing either a 6x9 envelope with some brochure letter with an order form, or like a trifold panel. It's interesting, in the last, I would say, year to 2 years, you've seen a lot of people, due to the rising costs of paper and postage, sort of stop mailing their tried and true traditional catalog outside of core selling seasons, and moving towards some of the units you mentioned, whether it's a trifold panel or a postcard. We found that if for those that are interested in our programmatic direct mail solution, it's a postcard, right? So somebody's on your website, we identify them, we model them, we deliver them to a printer the next day. It gets mailed, a postcard gets mailed within 24 hours, and it's in the hands of the consumer within 3 to 5 days. So the postcard, the cost to print that and get that in that hand is actually less than a full scale catalog. It's been changing.
You have so much data available to you, and obviously, there's a belief that there's this power in data to be able to help drive personalized and targeted direct mail. Are you finding that clients are saying, look, we've got this group of people that you're identifying, and they are X, so they should get one piece with one message or one promotion, and then there's another group that's getting something different?
Yeah, there is. We absolutely can do that. It really depends on the brand's goals. But you're right, data is key. It's all a matter of, understanding the goal of the campaign and identifying the right people to build that off of. Brands have people that only respond to sales catalogs. Well, that's important. So if next month someone's going to be mailing a sales catalog, we need to understand that. You don't want to be modeling it off of the best buyers. Really need to understand, what data set are we looking at?
I think you mentioned, or Brian mentioned, 10-year anniversary.
Yes, yes, 2025 is Path2Response's 10-year anniversary. It's something that we're super proud of. We built this company. It was visionary at the time, taking this tried and true concept of co-op marketing, but adding this element of the intent data in there and the browsing behavior, and effectively marrying the two together. Has been transformational in what we've done with our clients and the industry in general. And the platform that we have is cloud-based, so we could do everything very, very quickly. We can change, we can move, we could iterate. And so in the last 10 years, we've grown tremendously, tremendously. And obviously, Brian himself has had a lot of experience in the exponential growth of an organization. And we can proudly say that we have outpaced, his previous experiences. So it's been super exciting for us as a leadership team.
What do you find with the challenges and the changes of privacy, over time? Has that made it more complicated for you all?
Yeah, I think, there's a whole bunch of things going on with all the different legislations. I think GDPR came out and that was like the first, oh my goodness, what does that mean? So I think there's definitely been a change, with regard to our ability to capture the intent data. All of that is first party data. So there's been this talk of third party cookie deprecation. What is that going to do to us? It has nothing to do to us because everything that we built our organization on the foundation is a brand's first party data. While that we absolutely get a boatload more questions about it, I think from a brand to consumer relationship, brands need to provide consumers with knowledge about what they're doing with the data, right? Providing notice and choice. So they want to make sure that they tell consumers. Sometimes we may partner with other companies who can identify you and follow up with you for future direct marketing efforts. Sometimes we share our lists with other brands that whose offers may be of interest. Let us know if you don't want that to happen. So I think privacy, why to your point, is on everyone's radar. For Path2Response, I think it does, and similar organizations, it does require a little bit more of an explanation as to why what we're doing is privacy compliant, but also giving brands some advice on how to have that better relationship with their own customers.
10 years, or whether it's an anniversary or not, I'm imagining that you continue to innovate and come up with new ideas to help your clients. Anything that you've recently launched or are going to be launching new products in the near term?
Well, I will say one of the things that's amazing, in the cost of in the times of rising costs, so many brands are cutting out prospecting, their new customer acquisition efforts outside of their key selling areas. And so our product Path to Ignite that enables us to take advantage of anyone coming to your site is a perfect tool for brands to use today because wouldn't you want to know that an existing customer is on your website right now, yet they haven't bought from you in say 13 months, right? That's a lapsed customer that they're engaging with you. Paths of Response can identify that and you can send them something as opposed to trying to find them on your file. You can just give me everyone that hasn't bought for me in 13 plus months. Let Paths of Response identify the key people who you should be mailing to. So I think, taking advantage of the site visitation, but not mailing everybody that visits your site, having them modeled and scored. Are they buying elsewhere? Are they actively engaged with you currently, or are they a lapsed buyer? Those are the things that people are really, really excited about and that we're excited about. Really using our key differentiator to further our clients, advertising dollars because they've been cut. They've really been cut.
Got it. Interesting. I was engaged, like I said, with Abacus in
Yes,
1980. Whether, can't show my age too much, but
right?
I was an early adopter of cooperative databases. So,
Are you an online retailer or brand looking to enhance your product imagery? Look no further than Web Future Studio, your trusted partner for professional image editing services tailored to your needs. At Web Future Studio, we combine expert image editing with a personalized customer approach. We understand the fast paced nature of e commerce, which is why we pride ourselves on delivering top quality images while meeting tight deadlines. Our team is dedicated to bringing value to your brand by perfecting your visuals from regular product photos to compelling marketing images that captivate your audience. What sets us apart is our commitment to customization. We offer optimized and tailored cost structures that suit your specific needs and budget, ensuring you receive the best service without unnecessary costs. Join the many US based clients who have trusted us to refine their product images and boost their online presence. Ready to make your images stand out? Contact Web Future Studio today to discuss how we can bring your vision to life. Visit webfuturestudio.com to get started.
anyway, we are down to the end of our show. We do a 2-minute drill, 7 questions, 1 word answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. A brand that you admire or that inspires you.
Female Creations. It's an old one, but it's a good one.
Okay. Favorite app on your phone.
Oh, New York Times.
Last website other than Amazon that you shopped from.
It was a baby website. Oh, I'm not having a baby. My daughter's expecting babies. Oh my god.
Congratulations. All right. We won't
Oh
tell
my god.
you. All right. Something that you're not good at, but you wish that you were.
Singing.
Charitable organization that you're passionate about.
PETA.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
To fly.
And other than family, what's your most prized possession?
Health.
Where can people reach out to you, Maria, on social media? Should they be interested in doing so?
LinkedIn would be great. Or contact us on Path2Response.
Path2Response. Okay. And is this your first grandchild?
Yes, and she's having twins. It's a big deal.
Wow. Okay. So I have twins. My children are twins, but they are grown now. And we had our first grandchild about 4 months ago. Her name is Colby. So when we get off this podcast, she's in another room waiting for
Oh
me.
my gosh.
So I'm going to go see Colby.
So exciting. Congratulations. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm very
Yeah,
excited.
it's great. And the twins will keep you busy. That's for sure.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. All right, Maria, it's nice to see you again. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
That's it. Today's game ball goes to Maria Youth for coming on the marketing playbook. To me, today's three game winning marketing plays were as follows. Number one, we all get comfortable in what we know, but finding some ways to move outside of your comfort zone can be really helpful, not only for your career, but for your personal life. Perhaps you've never been in sales. Try and find a role where you need to sell. Nothing helps you learn more than trying to convince others to believe in what you're selling. And number two, navigating change is never easy, especially when there's resistance within an organization. There are so many ways to manage change, but it really needs to start from the top down, and management needs to be supportive of the changes they want to have made. Then it's a function of being a good collaborator, earning respect of the people you're trying to convince, and then executing well. With change comes mistakes, but stick to your plan and it'll eventually happen. And number three, one of the challenges that brands have is having more ideas than the time they have to execute. As a provider, you know you have a good solution that will help, but how do you convince the brand to slot it into their roadmap? As Maria points out, once you've explained the value and the brand buys in, lay out a time frame and the roadmap and offer them all of the assistance necessary to get the job done. It doesn't hurt to know the brand's numbers as well as your own. If you do, you can talk their language and be aligned on the value of what you're selling. Thank you, Playbook marketers, for listening to another episode. If you want to check out more pages of the Marketing Playbook, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast spot and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, the devil is in the details.